Welcome to the Burnout to Lit Up podcast. I am your host, Erica Del Pozo, occupational therapist, certified health coach, CEO and founder of Joy Energy Time, Miami girl, and pineapple lover. In this podcast, we provide the resources on how to deal with stress, burnout, and anxiety, how to get energized, find true satisfaction and alignment in your life, and more. You will learn how to slay your burnout beast and go from burnt out to a lit up life. Let's do this. Welcome to the Burnout to Lit Up podcast. It's me, your girl, Erica. And if you're brand new to the show, welcome. If you've been listening for a while, then welcome back. Today, I will be talking about resilience in healthcare. Now, if you're not in healthcare, don't freak out because I'm pretty sure you can apply these principles of being resilient to almost anything. So I just apply it to healthcare because that's the context I'm in and many of my listeners are as well. Before I move on, I want to share with you that this episode is brought to you by, drumroll please, my free ultimate guide to burnout prevention for healthcare professionals. This free guide is more like a mini ebook. It is from A to Z burnout prevention in a nutshell. There's a lot of opportunities in the guide for you to do some work and get hands-on and take some real life strategies that you can apply into your life. So if you're in healthcare, grab this guide. It's free, and the link for that is in the show notes. You don't want to miss out on that. I don't have a fun fact for today, but I have a question for all of you. My first wedding anniversary is coming up. I'm so excited. I can't believe it's been a year, and I don't know what to get my husband. He doesn't like materialistic things. He doesn't like cards. I mean, I like cards and I like to get things, but he really doesn't. And I don't know, maybe I might get him something food related, like I'm not sure. I think it would be fun to take a cooking class together, but I don't know if he'd be down for that. But if you have any ideas of a good first year wedding anniversary gift, please send me an email, Erica, ERIKA, at joyenergytime.com. Help a girl out. It's very hard to get men something, so I will appreciate any help you can give me. Okay, so let's jump right on in. What is resilience? In short, it is the ability to bounce back. Now, first of all, I love talking about stress management, and a traditional stress management approach offers strategies, like breathing, exercise, conversations, time and priority management as ways to reduce and manage stress, right? While those are useful and while I can preach about those things all day long, they're actually just responses to specific symptoms of overload and stress. So it's really important to think about developing strategies and specific skill set to prevent and manage burnout, going beyond those things, like going beyond the breathing and the exercise, even though it's so important. So that's why I am talking about resilience today. Resilience is an essential part. It's one essential slice of the pie in terms of addressing burnout and creating a long-term strategy for life. All right. So resilience is the intrinsic ability of a system to adjust its functioning prior to, during, or following changes and disturbances so that it can sustain required operations even after a major mishap or in the presence of continuous stress. So, in other words, like I said, it's the ability to bounce back. It's strategic and systematic. Resilience is something that you develop, and it occurs in the light of stressors while you are in a demanding environment. It allows you to develop and build self-efficacy and to be able to cope with quote unquote failures. All right. Now, failures are really just an acronym for first attempt in learning. And I believe that failures as disappointing as they may seem, are lessons that we have to take something from. So building resilience is such a great skill because it is that slice of the pie, like I said earlier, in terms of being a well-rounded healthcare practitioner. So it allows you to cope with these failures and to build that self-efficacy. Resilient people share these 3 characteristics. Commitment. So it's passion for what you do and staying committed to that. Challenge. This is key. This is the perspective. You view your stressor as a challenge rather than a threat. And control. Investing time and energy into things you can control. Those are the 3 characteristics of resilient people: commitment, challenge, and control. The 3 C's. So it's important to take note that there are things that go beyond your control. And sometimes we lose sight of this, right? We worry about those things and we think that by worrying about them, we can control them. We can't control what other people think of us. We can't control what our patients think of us. There's a lot of things that go beyond what we can control. And sometimes, especially for some people that are perfectionists like me, I used to worry so much about that. And knowing where to invest your energy, investing your energy in things that you can control, that is a key characteristic of resilience, because you are letting go of things that you just can't control and you're not giving that your time or energy. I have this fun little game with myself. When I remember to play it, it makes things a lot better. When there's a problem in my life, it could be something so stupid or it could be something bigger. Whenever I have a problem, I play this game where I look at it as a fun challenge. Sometimes it's not so fun, and sometimes it takes a lot of extra effort. But what happens is that I give it less energy because I'm viewing it as just a challenge and I have to find a solution for that challenge versus a problem. So just kind of changing the wording has helped me. And even, for example, like doing my taxes, there's a lot of problems. There's a lot of difficulties because last year I had 2 jobs and I was a contractor. So taxes aren't always easy for me. There's a lot of things to figure out and to sort out. But I try to just view everything as a challenge and kind of like a game. And it makes things so much lighter. When things could be really heavy, especially with taxes, I do my best to make it as light as possible and to have an attitude like there is a solution. I just have to find it. There are 6 P's. Now we're going to dive a little deeper into what resilience is. So there are 6 P's that determine or make up resilience. The first one is presence, developing the capacity to direct and focus attention. That means that you are working towards cultivating self-awareness, right? Creating that presence. You can create that. That's something that you have to be aware of. You have to be aware of being aware. Repeatedly telling ourselves that we have no choice in a certain situation embeds this belief within us more and more deeply until it actually becomes an unchallengeable truth. Our very habits then prevent us from seeing the options that are available. So we kind of dig ourselves in a hole sometimes. And we do this possibly at a subconscious level. Once you develop that presence and awareness, you start to realize that we can create more choices for us. We're not just stuck with the one choice we're telling ourselves, but we can explore beyond that. And starting with presence, that's the first P, okay? Starting with being present. Second P is purpose. maintaining a clear and unwavering focus on who and what the work serves. So people that are resilient don't lose sight of that purpose. It's what gets them through the hard times. Especially in healthcare, we are in a field that is very demanding of our resources. That's why so many people in healthcare burn out or get compassion fatigue or change fatigue. I mean, there's all these different things that can occur to us because the nature of our work is just so demanding of our resources. People that are resilient have that purpose in mind. It's like that light at the end of the tunnel. You maintain a clear and unwavering focus. And that is what carries you through because you're on this huge journey, right? Let's say you're crossing the Pacific Ocean. Like try to imagine that as your career in healthcare or whichever career you're in. But there's going to be days where that ocean is nice and smooth and you're just sailing and drinking mimosas and all this stuff. But then there are days where there are storms ahead of you, my friend, and you have to just rough out those storms. You're not sure if your boat's going to make it or tip over, but that's resilience, is having a purpose. You know you're getting across that ocean no matter what, and that's what keeps you going. Third P is perspective. Choosing from a range of possible perspectives, the ones that are maximally freeing. We can't control the world, but we can control how we think about it. That's a quote by Mischel. And that goes back to one of the first things I touched upon is control. We can't control what we can't control, but we can focus on the things that we can control. We can totally fall victim to this. And I've spent most of my life worrying about the things that I can't control. So you can fall victim to that or actually let that liberate you. And once that happens, then you're in a position where your energy is freed. So here are some questions I want you to ask yourself. What perspective do I currently have on a situation that I experience as limiting or frustrating? What alternative perspectives are available for the same situation? What evidence can I find to support each of these other perspectives? Which perspective is the most liberating, energizing, and resilient? Now, I'm going to be asking questions for some of these P's, but don't worry, all of these questions are in the show notes, okay? So once this episode ends, head over to the show notes and you can answer all these questions. I don't know if we're on the fourth P. I think we are. Okay, yes, partnerships. Creating alliances with those who share values, goals, and purpose and can advance the work. Resilient leaders cultivate partnerships, right, with people who can help us accomplish what we're after and help us maintain our energy and optimism. Resilient leaders also find strategies to minimize the negative effects of relationships that drain us. And I'm a firm believer that you don't have to be a boss to be a leader. That's kind of like an old frame of thinking. A lot of companies now, and I hope this is a trend that emerges more in healthcare, but leadership can really come from anyone. And we have to be present in these partnerships and understanding that we can make a resilient team at work. With resilient individuals, we could build a resilient team. And that takes all of us to put the work in, right? Relationships that develop you with colleagues at work can either sustain or erode your resilience. Have you ever heard that phrase, you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with? Well, at work, we can't really control for that. So that's a little bit different. But what you can do, like I said, is to build those partnerships and enable a resilient atmosphere. So, I've read this article about resilient engineering, And it kind of blew my mind. It's about building resilience at that level, at that organizational level at work. So it was kind of like, that could be a whole other podcast episode. And I need to look more into that before I talk about that. But it is a thing where you can engineer resilience at work. So I have some questions to ask you. Who shares my interests in a challenging situation? Which relationships provide support and increase my energy? What helpful support or resources could I request? Of whom might I make this request? Again, these questions, you can find them all in the show notes. Fifth P, proactivity. Focusing on what can be done rather than on obstacles and staying in action. Staying in action as an active participant rather than going along as a passenger is key to resilience, okay? Action versus passive. Proactivity requires identifying the actions that we can take that are most likely to bring about results and then taking them. So this is something I learned about in school, and it's called learned helplessness. It is a debilitating psychological state in which a person comes to believe that whatever he does will not make a difference. Learned helplessness is like, it sounds like it's something that people learn. And learned helplessness can occur among highly regulated healthcare workers, in resource-deprived communities around the world, and in the faces of both patients and their physicians, because they just may feel overwhelmed by their ability to make a real difference. And this can happen especially when you're talking about cancer and other life-impacting conditions. Okay, here are some questions you can ask yourself. Which facts of my challenging circumstance is it time to simply accept? In what circumstance do I tell myself there's nothing I can do when in fact I do have real choices? What is a simple action right in front of me that I haven't let myself do? Isn't that funny how we could be our biggest barriers to success without even knowing it? We have so much power. That's why building resilience as another tool in your toolbox can really be helpful in, like I said, that long-lasting peace in your life so that you can keep burnout at bay. Okay, the last P, practice. Engaging in consistent and supportive physical, fun, and body-mind practices that are restorative. So now those stress management techniques kind of fall into place here. So what practices do you engage in that rejuvenate you? And when I think about being rejuvenated, I'm not talking about those time-out activities. Now, time-out activities are activities that you can zone out in, like watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I don't even know if it's still on TV. I actually don't have cable. We just have Netflix. But yeah, think about what can you do to rejuvenate yourself? Is there anything relaxing or something that's challenging that you can engage in on a regular basis? And when we talk about engagement in occupations, because I'm an occupational therapist, so it's in my wheelhouse to talk about occupations, and those are the things you do every single day. It isn't just your job. Occupations goes from brushing your teeth, right, to being an artist, to having the role of being a mother. Like, occupation is everything that you do. And there's 4 different breakdowns of this concept of flow. And I don't want to get too into it now because I can't even say his name. It's a really, really long name. But this scientist came up with this concept of flow. Like, I can't even attempt to say it, guys. I'll put it in the show notes. But flow is this concept of losing yourself when you engage in an occupation. So when I used to be a dancer, I used to lose all sense of time. All that really mattered was me in the moment being in dance. So there's 4 different concepts here, but 2 of them elicit flow. So if you're in the lowest one, you're bored and there's no flow because the challenge is low, your skill is high, and you're bored. And that can happen when you're zoning out watching TV. The next one is relaxed. So there's low challenge but low skill. So something that's relaxing to you. And then next is aroused. So there's high challenge, high activity. Maybe you're engaging in a painting class and you've never done it before, but you feel like it's something fun and exciting. But then you have anxiety. So your skill is low, but the challenge is high, and it's actually not rejuvenating. It's causing anxiety. So for me, that would be skydiving, or that would be, I don't know, something that I perceive as too difficult that wouldn't benefit me. So really, when you talk about flow, you want to stay out of that boredom and that anxiety concepts. You want to stay within the relaxing and arousing, because those are going to be the most rejuvenating for you. And not that you can't challenge yourself, but if we're talking about practices that you can engage in on a regular basis that are going to support you physically, mentally, emotionally, that are restorative. Something that's really relaxing that I do, and my husband and we take walks every morning, and it's relaxing. It's right when we wake up, we shower, and then we go outside, walk. He goes to work, and I don't have to go to work until later, so I go back and I eat breakfast. But that little morning walk is relaxing, and there should be those little things every day that you look forward to that relax you. And that's a part of your daily mental hygiene. Something I want to talk about is this term called holy selfishness. I actually got that term from the book I'm reading called The Resilient Practitioner. And holy selfishness means that you must hold your own welfare as something holy or sacred, a holy or sacred obligation. So just like, for example, someone with diabetes has to check their insulin on a daily basis because it's necessary for their survival, right? So when we're talking about resilience and we're talking about daily practices, you have to treat that relaxing time for you as something holy, something that has to be done. It's sacred. It's a part of your day, just like as if you had a medical condition and you're checking in. So you have to check in with yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You have to set boundaries. And that is just something that we can lose sight of because we're always on the go, right? And we can't afford to neglect checking in with ourselves in that way. We have to be a little selfish. That's why it's called holy selfishness. If you have built resilience, if you've built resilience when you're dealing with stress, that can create more positive emotions because now you have the skills to deal with that stress more positively and you can view it as a challenge. Go figure, right? Like the better you get at resilience, because again, it is something that you can develop. So the better you get at it, the more positive emotions will come out of stress. And it's this beautiful cycle that keeps getting stronger and stronger. Building resilience doesn't make it doesn't make the stress go away. It doesn't make the stress easier, but how you react to it becomes easier. And how you react to stress has more intention versus coming out of fear. So when it comes to resilience, it's important to set boundaries. If you don't set boundaries, you are pouring out your mental energy more than you're filling it back up. We can only exercise max an hour, maybe 2 hours. Some people that have a lot of free time can exercise for 2 hours, but most of us can exercise for, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour until we're done. And we know that we have exhausted our physical energy stores. Same with mental energy. We seem to forget that our mental energy is finite every day. So if we don't set boundaries, we can develop these defense mechanisms that can actually make us seem like a hard ass or just make us seem cold to the outside world, because it's our way of dealing, because we're not setting those boundaries with people and we're just letting our mental energy leak out all over the place. Okay, so in summary, I'm going to just go over those 6 P's that make up resilience. So there's presence, purpose, perspective, partnerships, proactivity, and practice. So with resilience, remember that it takes a commitment. You are committed, you have a passion for what it is that you do. You view your stressors as challenges, and you invest your time and energy in the things you can control. So remember, go to the show notes. If I haven't said it enough already, go there, because I have the questions I asked in this podcast. They're all there. The free burnout prevention guide for healthcare professionals is there, and a few other things. So check it out. I will talk to you guys later. Mwah. Have a great day, everyone. Bye. Thanks for listening. If you want more, be sure to subscribe to this podcast. Also, share this episode with your friends, and I would be so grateful. If you feel inspired, leave a review on iTunes with an honest comment and or what you'd like to hear more of, so you can help me out on my journey in delivering meaningful content. Thanks, mis amores.